Wednesday night, 5 days ago, the Carolina Hurricanes season ended. 5-game series loss to the Florida Panthers. I know in terms of games, it was a step up from 2 years ago, but I think I remember that series being, I thought, better from Carolina in terms of the way they played. Either way, it doesn't really matter. The end is the end, and the head coach, Brind'Amour, is joining us now on the Adam Gold Show. I'm just curious how long it took you, maybe you still haven't, just kind of what is going on there?
That's my alarm for you. So, I was getting ready for it.
You set an alarm?
Well, because you know how it goes. The day gets going, I forget that I got to do your show, so I was not going to forget.
Thank you very much. That's outstanding. I don't even remember what I was going to ask now. How long did it take you to decompress from the season, or from Wednesday?
No, I mean, it takes time, but I think it's good to get a little time before you actually start diving into it. Now I see why people say I need time, to decompress and think about it, because in the moment your emotions certainly are different than they are when you take a step back and you look at the team and how we played and all that. So I'm still kind of in the middle of it, but I think it's certainly, as time has gone by here, I realized, I thought the group just did everything they could. And that's at the end of the day, that's what you want out of your team. Obviously, we talked about it. We want to be better. We want to beat Florida, but with what went on in that series, with what kind of the injuries we had, what we were putting out there, on the back end, especially, I thought those guys hung in there, and I think it gives us a good feel for what we have, and then where we need to get better.
All right, we'll talk about some of those things. I want to talk about or ask you about the exit meetings, and you're not going to get into specifics, but were there difficult conversations had with some of your guys?
Well, at that time, when you're finishing up and everyone's going home for the summer, it's more. There are a couple. I mean, that aren't as pleasant, but like I said, when you, for the most part, there's everyone gave what they could. I mean, what are you going to say? I thought our guys hung in there and dug in, and there may be a couple guys that you could say, well, got to get a little more out of, that's for sure. But in general, those meetings are usually pretty positive, and you send guys away, feeling good about their game and what they need to work on, and come back and give it another crack.
I mean, I imagine the exit meeting with Jackson Blake is, if we could put 15 pounds of muscle on your body now, right, how much better could he have been? It did look like whether he wore down a little bit, or maybe just when the physicality ramps up to that level, that it made it more difficult for him. I would imagine you had a great meeting with Jackson.
Yeah, well, what else do you want him to do? He was great, and he's just a young kid. That's the other thing. I take a step back, and I'm sitting there going, we had 4 rookies playing in the semifinals against a team that I don't think had any rookies, and that matters, and that's only going to make us better. These guys are having that experience moving forward, and I thought all those guys hung in there, and Jackson's one of them. Where he got bounced around. He's gonna anyway. I don't care if he puts on 15 more pounds. He's still going to be a little guy compared to those other guys, and he understands that. So you got to give him credit, because he didn't back down one bit.
Love the kid.
That's what I love about him. And we could say the same about stankoven. Even Jarvie. These guys are not big guys, but they don't back down. And I don't really think their game changes. It makes it harder. Let's be real. I mean, it's harder when you're going against a 6'6" guy to get to the net when you're not, but it's not that they didn't try, and I don't think it affected their game.
The way Sebastian Aho played the first period on Wednesday, he played with attitude as well. His reaction when he scored the goal to make it 2-0, you could tell that he had reached his level of competition that it's hard to stay there all the time. Maybe that's the takeaway for Aho is how do you stay there all the time and play with that kind of ferocity, and then to see it to have the game go the other way in the second period. What did you see from him?
Yeah, well, I agree, but nobody can really play that way every shift. I mean, we want our guys to compete hard every shift, but to be a dominant player, that's basically what you're saying, is hard. I mean, there might be one player in the world that pretty much dominates every shift, and
right.
We know who that is. So, you look at the lineup, their guys were impactful, but they didn't dominate every shift. They're just hard to do. But he was clearly on that night. He was going in the first period, no doubt about it. It's too bad we, had a couple of mishaps and ended up the game went a different direction. But he did all he could. Yeah,
well, I don't want to get into the specifics of the call, and the fact that yes, Barry put himself in position to have that call, because I thought it was a light call, but doesn't really matter. Rod Brind'Amour is joining us here in the Adam Gold Show. Just your read on the season as a whole. I know you talked about it. Going into the season, the roster, even not going into the season, going into the summer, because I do think that everybody thought, well, okay, the roster makeover puts yourself in a position where you could be a playoff team. And I thought you'd be a playoff team from the beginning anyway. But the difference from last year to this year obviously was noticeable. But how did you view the season as a whole?
Well, it's kind of a couple questions in there. But as a whole, like I said, if you take a step back and you go, that's a damn good season. And there's a way we break it down, the way I look at it, you have a regular season, and that was good. I thought that was solid. We played okay. We had ups and downs, but I thought we did what we had to do, right? Which is make sure you're get your chance to play in the playoffs, which people kind of take for granted now. And
yes.
It's very, very hard to play good for 6 months, and that's what you have to do to make the playoff. And we were good enough to where our last month we didn't have to win a game, right? So when you do that's a great season for me. So if you remember the last 8 games, we basically sat guys out. It was like rest, and to be in that position, that tells me we had a great season. So that part was good. Then you get into playoffs, you got every round is its own race. That's what we talk about. Like the first round is just sometimes as hard as to win a Stanley Cup because you might hit that team in the first round for all you know. So you have to be ready. I thought our guys, had a great first round, benefited from them. The team we played had injuries. It's just no way around it. They were not their full lineup, and you pick them apart. You're a weakest link away from losing in the playoffs because that's what happens. And then the second round, I thought that was our best overall, just solid against a really, really good team, obviously, I think they were first or nearly first in the league all year. So that, and we're heavy. Everyone's talking about our team being like, they were the second heaviest team in the NHL. So we did everything we had to do. Third round comes along, you're playing what I think is the best team in the NHL, and you pretty much have to agree because until someone knocks them off, that's what they are. It is what it is. We could see where we were a little off. And, injuries crept in. That was a big part of it. I'd love to have seen Chatty in there for the whole time and watch where we could have made up some ground. But that's part of that, right? That's part of the playoffs. That's what the nature of it. So that round I didn't love. I didn't love our last round. But all the other stuff I thought was really, really good. So when you break it down that way, you say it's pretty darn good. End of the day, well, we were trying to figure out how to be the best team, and we're clearly not quite there yet.
Rod Brind'Amour is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. I found, all of the national narratives I found tiring. Whether we go back to the beginning of the playoffs and the can't win on the road, which, of course, nobody is as Florida is, but nobody else is as good on the road as they are at home. That's just normal. And I think it was all born out of 2022, where you went 0 for 6 on the road, and that was really, one of the things that separated, Carolina and the Rangers, even though the Rangers didn't win any games on the road either until they won Game 7 here. But the boring stuff, which to me wasn't really true, wasn't real. I didn't see media members, but the whole the system can't work, or the losing streak. Like, I get why 23 would matter. Basic same two teams, even though half of each team was missing. But I get why 23 would matter. I never understood why anybody thought 19 mattered, let alone 2009.
Yeah, well, that's just people are looking for things to talk about, and as you know, you're in the business of it. It's
right.
What's the easiest thing to talk about is negative stuff, right? Because that just gets everything rolling, and that's just kind of where we're at in the world in general. So that's fine. But I think to your other kind of talking points, it's nobody in our room even batted an eye about all that other stuff.
Right.
About the 19, like, what does that mean? And whether you lose, honestly, you lose 4 in a row, we got another win in here. That's not a step closer. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't matter. You losing 7, it wouldn't have been a step closer. We got to get through this round. Right. So, like you said, I think at the start, I thought 2 years ago we played them way better than this time around. And it's true. We were closer. You know, they took a step, and I don't say we took a step back. It's just we had injuries in this round, and it was different, right? So I really feel like that was part of the hiccups. Having said that, you know, 7-game series is not too often the better team doesn't win.
Right.
So we got to find a way, disappointing, this and that. I don't view it that way. I'm disappointed we didn't get the win, but I'm positive on so many fronts with the players we brought in that I don't want to say surprised us, but like really performed really, really well. And then the young guys that we have, you know, coming up that showed really well. So there's a lot to be positive about, even though it seems like everything the world's falling in because we didn't win this round.
All right, 2 more things, then I'll let you go. Rod Brind'Amour is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. Everybody has their own ideas of what separates the Hurricanes and the Florida Panthers, and to me, I agree, they are the standard, and they play the same style as the Hurricanes, for people who don't know. What is the difference between Carolina and Florida?
Well, the two differences in this time around. The other time around was tight. I don't think there was much difference. You know, you look in net, their guy had a 980 last time we played him, and Freddie was really good too. But that's a big deal. Like, just, you know, start there and then you work your way out. And I think they had their D that they brought in. They brought in a big D that was one of the better players on another team. Like, that addition helped them.
Yeah,
just a little bigger on the back end, which that's a big deal. People understand, like, it's hard to get to the net when you're 6'6" and you're knocking guys around. In the playoffs, you can, you know, get away with it. So that kind of mattered. And then at the end of the day, too, I think they have 3 lines that could pump it in the net. And that was evident when, you know, all of a sudden we make that one little turnover. It was like, whoop. And it didn't matter if it was the Barkov line, the Bennett line, or the Lundell line. They ended up in your net, right? So a little more, I think, in that category. But now I just added kind of 3 things. That's too much, right? So we got to get a little better in those areas, and maybe that closes the gap.
Yeah, and does it start down the middle for you?
Yeah,
do you have to get better at center?
Well, that's kind of obvious, right? Like, I mean, we have, in my opinion, the best. If you want to number lines, I don't do it because there's a reason I don't. Because if you're saying your number 1 center is, you know, whatever, Sebastian Aho, then he should play against the number 1 center every night. That's not how we do it.
Right.
And so you want to say who your number 1 center is at home, well, then it's Jordan Staal because he gets to play. It doesn't get to, he has to play against the other guy's best center. So that's what that is. So I think if you number it correctly, Jordan Staal is your 3rd-line center, and that's probably the best 3rd-line center in the NHL. Yeah. Because of what he does and how he does it. And that line with Martinook and whoever you put there, if it's stankoven or it's Carrier, it's probably one of the best 3rd lines in hockey. And now Fishy's got to take that number one responsibility, or at least the number two with his line. That's good. You're right. We need Kicking needs to probably have a little more impact if we're just being truthful on the whole thing.
Right.
And, because we can't have, like I said, you just can't have holes. And when you have holes and the other teams don't, that's your weak link that you got to get better at.
All right, and final thing, and I've already spoken to Sebastian about it. So, but I'm curious what your point of view was on the whole thing, because it struck me as very honest and human when I asked Sebastian about dealing. Has he had to on different levels with the month or so that Mikko Rantanen was here, and he said it was tiring. One of the things he said to me, and he did in retrospect probably. He thought I probably did try too hard to make plays for him rather than make plays.
Yeah.
And so when you were watching, how did your team react to Mikko?
Yeah, I think he hit it right on the head. I think, first of all, we all, and everybody, the players included, appreciated that we went and got the guy.
Yep.
Like that, they was like, thank you. We all know that would help immensely, help any team, but maybe our team more than any, for the reasons we just talked about, right? Like, it was a need, and we went swinging for it. You can debate all you want, all the other stuff. I do believe if Brandon had another year on the deal, then this it would have given time to settle in. We're not rushing about, you got to get signed and all that. Then he'd be here all summer, have another year. It would be a moot point. But that's the way it worked out. It didn't. And so it really became more of a distraction than a help because of the time frame. And, I think the organization did a hell of a job pivoting out of it. They recognized that, okay, oh boy, this is not going to work for, the obvious reasons. And then I thought the team bounced right away back out of it.
Yeah.
Snapped out of it and played really well. Really the rest of the year, so I think if you ask the guys, that's kind of how they felt about it, but they appreciated that the team went for it. And, I think that's the attitude that, Tom and Eric now, we've always kind of had it, but it's at the forefront, and they're going to keep trying to do things like that. I think that all the guys appreciate that, because that just means you're trying to win. You're doing whatever it takes to try to win, and that's what you want.
Yeah, I found out that Sebastian obviously is a big football fan because he was talking about Hail Marys, and that's that was awesome. But there's a lot of cap room. So have you given Eric a shopping list?
Oh yeah, that happens all year. That's and this year it's unfortunate in some ways because we really did position ourselves this way. Knew that this season past was going to look the way it maybe did. We were probably, I'm not saying gearing up for this year, but knowing we would have cap space, but so does everybody else now with the cap going up so much.
Right.
That it kind of probably lessens that advantage that I think we were planning on having.
Right.
But to your point, hey, it's still there, and I know that, we're going to be swinging at it. I can tell you that. So
yeah.
That's what you want to be a part of. And still, what the pieces we have, they're in pretty good shape.
Oh, I think so. All right, so what are we talking about next? Are we talking college football? Are we talking golf? Do you want to talk about FIFA bringing the Club World Cup to the United States?
No, not soccer. Let's keep that out of the conversation. Really? Yeah, I can't say I know enough about it to give you a good. College baseball, I was all into that all weekend.
Ah.
A little disappointed with some of the outcomes, but
I know.
But it was even that was pretty intense watching some of those comebacks, and it's I love that. I love any of that time of year with any sports really, but college baseball right now is the time of year to get pretty excited about. Duke did a heck of a job.
Yep.
Carolina's got the big game coming up, right? So,
yeah.
That's pretty cool.
All right, we'll figure out something to talk about. Don't let Elliot Avet retire.
No, is that what he's talking about?
I haven't heard about it.
Okay, no. Don't start talking like that. You throw stuff in there and it starts to fly around. That guy's an icon. I love him. We need to keep those guys around.
Absolutely. All right, I'll talk to you very soon. Get some R&R. I'll talk to you later.
Okay, buddy. Take care.
Thank you. That's Rod Brind'Amour, head coach of the Carolina Hurricanes.
Love him. That was fantastic. He was just like, no soccer. I don't know.
Oh, come on.